Alright, this is the original rear bumper for the 1970 Le Mans. I'll show you it's got a different new gas tank here. Basically, this is the original cap, but this is a Spectra tank. I'll have it in the write-up. It's an EFI tank with a built-in EFI fuel pump. Originally the car came with two hijacker air shocks. These aren't really used anymore, I just left them there. Take a look underneath. The tank is under there. It's got new stainless steel straps, and that's the new tank. Original fit and form, so it's about the same size and dimension. The ground clearance should be about the same. Notice no rear gravel shield, never had one. We have a single exhaust, so it's V8 in here, so the left and right merge into a Y connector, and then it goes through the catalytic converter, a main muffler, and then the final output, tailpipe. Ignoring my spare parts and my toolbox, the car will come with the same, this is the number 3 rim, this is brand new. It has the same size BF Goodrich tire. It's a P225 60R16. Hasn't been ever used. Got it in a bag. Now, corrosion. The only corrosion we have in this car is starting right here, where the drain plates are. There's a little bit right there where my finger is. There's a little bit showing right here. This white stuff is a little bit of nail gel that I put on here to find out how bad the corrosion is. So, very typical location. Anywhere else though, if you look in the back, right below the speakers, there's no corrosion under there or under this deck, which is very common. No rust here. I do notice that somebody must have worked on the rear hinge. This looks like not the original factory weld. I really can't tell. The original color of the car, if you notice, is this green color, and this hood is the original color, hasn't been painted. This is the original hood that came with the Le Mans. This lock latch here is an aftermarket replacement from OPGI. The key tumbler is original. This original Le Mans hood, there is some wrinkles to it. It's not a perfect body. Haven't been able to find a replacement. A little dent here, a little bit of a wrinkle right here. Other than that, it closes well, it aligns correctly, and it does seal. I have a replacement 2 springs that came from used Chevelle, probably from Jim Dyer's Chevy Classic over in Stockton. The trunk seal, this has been replaced. This is a brand new material. This is OPGI as well. This is probably changed in 2010. The rear quarter panel does have a wrinkle here. Looks like it was hit in the corner. There was Bondo here, but this whole body has been solder blasted, so I took the Bondo off and left the original. That way, when I'm ready to paint, I could see where the bodywork needed to be done. The other area of corrosion is down here. All the rust that was here and the Bondo was blasted away. So the corrosion isn't continuing as it would be if we didn't treat this. This has been treated, but I left it original as well. There is no plastic or body filler in this entire car. It's all been blasted away. Let's go to the rear wheel. This is the same wheel that's in the spare. I just don't have the cap here. Stud bolts is exactly the same as the original the car came. 7/16 I believe is the thread size on this. This is an SSBC rear brake kit. It's 14 inches. It does require a 15-inch wheel. Sorry, 16-inch. Did I say 15? 16-inch wheel. This is a 16-inch rim. Got another dent right here, which I think I did this backing out of the driveway. But you'll notice the red there, that was their primer, and then the body steel is right there. Little dent right here. Also, originally when the car came, we got some wrinkle, unless it got hit along the side, or that's the body molding. I can't really tell. For the rear window, this is the original that came with the Lemans. It is a clear window because this is a non-AC car. The frame and the window was removed. There was a little bit of repair work and treatment work. It was primed, and we brought it to a glass shop. And this window is bonded in to meet current DOD standards for safety. The old B type is no longer acceptable. One addition on this window is there's brass drain hose. I don't know if you could see it. There's a 1/4 inch, or maybe no, it's 1/8 inch drain tubes for where the water normally accumulates in this corner. One on the passenger side, one on the driver's side. All the window clips are brand new. None of the rivets had any problems. If it was, it would have been repaired. Let's show inside the hood. Let me show you the drain tube. Let's look at the passenger side here. This rubber tube.
Oh, hold on, I can't really see it.
Yeah, it's hard.
All right.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
That rubber drain tube, the black one, connects to the brass coupler that's at the gutter, and then from there it just drains out into the wheel well. Rear side window. This piece of rubber and all the other rubber gaskets along the window opening have been replaced. This is aftermarket. This window is the Lemans window because the body line here is all Lemans, not Chevelle. You'll notice there's this kind of tint. This is just static cling tint from Home Depot, smoke color, and it's easy to peel right off. The rear window, let me roll this down. The rear window also has the largest complete piece of tint. Let's see if we can shine that. So it's a little darker. That also can be pulled from the inside easily. Has a life of about 4 or 5 years. We used Eastwood 16th inch sound and heat denting material. It helped a lot, keeps the noise down. You'll notice that there are 2 large monster cables for speakers left and right. There's the orange, positive and negative, for future use of installing a rear trunk mounted battery or a dual battery. The 2 yellow ones are Cat 5 cables for data. I'm a computer person, so I might have a computer back there or something. It's just left it in there. If you look at the bottom of the passenger rear seat floor, that sound deadening material looks kind of crappy, but it actually is brand new from OPGI that came along with the carpet kit. This is a black carpet, one piece, mode fitted for the Lemans. Those underneath here, it's pretty clean. It's been all reconditioned. This black looking material is lizard skin from Summit Center. It keeps the heat and the sound vibration out. Okay, this is a add-on retrofit 3-point seat belt instead of the shoulder and the lap belt from original. This is from Summit Center. It is from a company that starts with M. I just can't remember the name of the company. This is not a inexpensive item, and this meets DOD standard. Please ignore the side airbag on this seat. This is a 2002 Honda Accord powered leather seat, not heated though. The passenger side seat is a model 2000 Honda leather seat as well, not powered. Just to put in here so we can ride around in it, and the seatbelt assembly is right there. No center console in this car. This is a column shift automatic original Lemans. Alright, this is the driver's side. This is a Chevelle door, 1970. That panel The armrest is common for both cars. The door handle, the window crank knob, those are also Lemans. But the panel itself is a Chevelle because that's a Chevelle door, so the fit is correct. The hinge points did not have to be modified, or the latching point. The Lemans and the Chevelle were exactly the same. Okay, let's pan a little bit to the right. Steering wheel, I had to put an aftermarket on there. The original one, I didn't like it at all. And the horn does work. I have no problem with this. The left-right signal switcher unit was replaced inside. The tumbler and the key identical was the original. So, column shift. The light bulb does work. All the lights work here. There's no clock on this one. This is just a blank cover right here. I'll start it up for you in a minute or so, and then we'll see how that goes. This is the original cigarette lighter. This knob is the delayed wiper mechanism, which I add on aftermarket. Probably came from Kragen or Pep Boys. This is a automatic car originally, so those pedals are exactly the whatever came with the car. The major add-on for the inside of this car is the dash was reworked by Interior Shop in San Jose. They just put a cover on it. Underneath here is a green original cover, lots of cracks on it. It was a disaster. The other modification is we added AC in here. So one of the vents, the center one's here. This is from Vintage Air. Control panel for the AC is here. Temporarily, we put it on a little plastic cover where the original control mechanism would be. That is still intact. This radio spot is the original spot there. I just put on a Pioneer radio. Nothing unique about this. Ashtrays, no modification there. It's the same. This was added here as well, just for extra ventilation for the center. This I happen to have, and I just used it for a cup holder because there's no cup holders in these cars originally. Yeah, I kind of ignored this. This is if I ever get stuck. This is my emergency don't get rear-ended thing. Just put it here. The glove box isn't usable because the Vintage Air assembly takes up a lot of room. And so basically this is what's behind the door. The person who did the upholstery didn't do a good job, or maybe I was supposed to trim the excess and I didn't do it because I'm not good at that kind of stuff. Anyway, the main unit is under here. It's a one piece. It's electronically controlled. Very nice unit. Very cold and works very well. We have infinite controls with the 3 knobs. So it's extremely variable. Variable speed motor, variable displacement, up, down, vent, front, full floor. But the glove box isn't usable. I don't think I had the original glove box. Didn't come with the car. This rear view mirror is of course not the original. It's from a 2000 Camaro or Firebird, and it has map lights here which are on. One side is incandescent. This is the yellow side. The other side's LED. It's just something I was experimenting with. And it is powered, of course, and there's 2 positions here. This is actually for a dash cam or a speed radar detector. Yeah, escort speed radar detector, which I don't have. Let's get a shot of this here. The upper headliner, of course, is no longer in place, but it is insulated and ready for installation, or ready for installation by a professional who knows what they're doing. Window cranks on, everything works. Door alignments are pretty much right on. They're probably better than when they came out of the factory. No water leaks in this car. Alright, front windshield is an aftermarket PPG replacement. Again, it's bonded in there by the same glass company. And it is tinted differently than the original factory. As a matter of fact, the tint, I just kind of give you a measurement, comes down this much. A little too much for my taste, but that's how they built it. No leaks as well. They did a very good job. Now, of course, there's one thing I want to point out. Yes, the A body is a Lemans 1970. However, I have front doors of Chevelle 1970, 2 inner fenders front that are Chevelle 1970, 2 outer fenders, a cow induction air hood, plus front grille, and the original Chevelle front bumper. That's only so I could drive the car. I want to emphasize that I'm selling the A body, the Lemans, the engine, the suspension, which is all tubular Global West suspension, and coil over front shocks. And I'm not selling this as a Transformer Lemans / Chevy. But just so the purpose of that we can drive it and it runs as it's being built and developed. Let me show you what's under the hood. The hood opening is Chevelle original. Chevelle original. One pop. Reach under here, push this latch, and up we go. The front hood hinges, they are original. That came with the Lemans. The spring is can't remember, but I think the springs are new from Jim Dyer. Actually, sorry, they are new aftermarket from Jim Dyer. The corner there is the input for hot water return, air conditioning, high pressure, low pressure, for the vintage air assembly. So pull back here is the receiver dryer. The exhaust manifolds are 2002 Camaro 5.3 V8 exhaust manifolds. The original Silverado were too wide, they wouldn't fit. This is a 2002 4.8 liter Vortec engine out of a 2002 Silverado 1500 HD. I have the VIN number, of course, because the ECU is registered with that VIN number. And I also have an extra ECU with the same for quick, easy replacement in the middle of the road. Now let's just look at the throttle assembly right here. This is a mechanical driven, not drive-by-wire. This first coupler is a Thunderbird air filter coupler. The mass air sensor, this is a 491, very common item, is the original that came with the Silverado. The next boot right here is a Spectra aftermarket from Pep Boys. We have 2 of them. We have one right here. We have the second one over here at the final output just before the air cleaner. Ignore that bolt, that's a temporary fixture of mine. Just going back over here to the input just before the mass airflow sensor. We have a 90-degree elbow. This came from a 90 Cadillac Seville. Comes up to this clamp. The next assembly is a high velocity Chrysler Concorde air boot. Inside there's a Ventura effect which speeds up the airflow, and so you get a little ram air effect. Does it help the engine? Yeah, I think the low end torque does help on that. This air assembly, which I'm not going to pull, well, here I can pull it out. This is actually, oh, I got to replace the air filter, is a Thunderbird air cleaner housing that holds a standard Fram, very inexpensive filter. And you could replace this with anything, of course, but I put this on here to keep the engine simple. The ECU for this motor, if you'll notice, all the wiring starts to kind of home in right here. Here's the ODB2 connector. ECU's right here underneath this area. Keeps it cool, slightly better than the original Silverado design, where the ECU's in the back of the engine near one of the exhaust manifolds. Not really a great idea. I want to demonstrate the car in running state. Car hasn't been driven probably for a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. This battery is, typical Evermax and probably sold by Walmart. I'm going to fire this thing up, let it warm up, and pull it out a little bit so we can get a better shot in the light. Okay, I have to turn the engine off, a little noisy. Okay, let's talk about the accessory pumps. All the pumps that you see, including the HVAC, are the original. Alternator, power steering, water pump, and a water pump pulley in the belt. They're all 2002 Silverado components. So for replacement parts, if you go with 2002 for the engine, for the items I just mentioned, they're very easy to obtain, very inexpensive. Just look at the radiator for a second. The hose is the original part replacement for a 2002 Silverado. It's, I can't pull the part number off of here. Yeah, I don't have the part number. This radiator is from a 1970 Chevy Camaro 350 non-AC. It's non-AC because this radiator is more than efficient or sufficient to keep the engine cool, because the 4.8 is much more efficient than the original 350s. The aluminum shroud here is from Summit Racing, and it couples up the 16-inch electric fan, the Cyclone unit. I forget the name of the manufacturer here. This is a part number 30218. It's a very common manufacturer, but let's see. I forget the name brand. I have it somewhere. Everything is relay driven, so there's no issues where wires are undersized and overheated. All the gauges have been oversized so that make sure of that possible issue. Look at the front here. Right before the radiator, there is, let me put back the screen mesh, the air conditioning cooler Right before that is the trans cooler. And this little screen mesh that you see here is to keep the bugs out of the radiator. This is a window screen mesh for the home residence, like a sliding door or your window. The most recent add-on component for this car is a CPP. That's Classic Performance from Southern California. The power steering gearbox was replaced. This is a close ratio, 2.5 to 3 turns lock to lock. It's original fit, but it's brand new. And the most important difference I want to point out is they made this one have very good road feel, and so it's tighter, meaning not as easy to steer as the original. You can't use one finger and try to steer. You do have to use your hand and grab it. But it works really well. I'm actually very impressed. It was easy to bolt on. The only thing I had to do was to change the rag joint from a 15/16 to a 3/4 inch diameter rag joint. So this rag joint down here is also brand new. It did throw the steering wheel alignment off because it's offset a little differently than the 15/16 version that came with the Lemans. The power brake assembly. This is a Summit Center replacement because the original one that came with the kit went bad. This master cylinder really is from the 1970 vintage, along with the distribution or proportioning valve here. The power booster comes from this hose right here, which circles back into the rear input port on the plenum, the intake plenum. And this intake plenum, yes, it's plastic. The wiper motor, this is the original that came with the car. I do have the critical points marked here. This is the starter driving the ignition start of the Silverado motor starter combination. I was looking at the suspension. This is a Global West tubular OEM direct replacement suspension. This joint here is a Del Ring, sorry, what do they call that? Del Ring aluminum joint. So it's not polyurethane and it's not a factory rubber. It is a Del Ring material like plastic and aluminum. So you get very good road feel, excellent track. However, along with the road feel, it's pretty rough. You feel every bump. So it's a trade-off. Fuel injector filter right here is a Fram G8018, very common item. These are GM quick release fittings. This is the 5/16 side, and the 3/8 side is up here where the supply line comes in. This brass looking flex line is a easy hand flexible. Here's the high pressure side, and here's the quick release coupler right here for supply. The return is down here, which comes back all the way around and goes into the filter, cleans it, dumps it back through the original fuel line assembly back into the tank. Alright, we're going to go through the electrical side here. The main wiring harness all hovers in here and on the other side where I showed you where the ECU computer is. It may look very complicated here, but we have two main points of interest. Positive, it's a junction stud. Negative, another junction stud here. This provides proper ground as well as supply B plus or 12 volts. This is not for the faint at heart. You do need to know a little bit about electrical in order to be able to service these types of cars. I hope most people do. But everything's relay based. Here's our fan relay. There's a relay for air conditioning, and there's a relay for lights. Fuses, there's an inline fuse for air conditioning here. This one here is for the CPU, and there's one more fuse which is right here in the corner. This one provides in-dash 12 volts. So 3 fuses, 3 relays, not terribly complicated, but at first glance it could be, looks pretty onerous. One thing I like about this engine is that it's very easy to repair, especially if you have a scanner. The dash scan gauge 2 dash indicator, which I have, has a built-in scanner. So if there is a malfunction indicator lamp or check engine light, it will display the code, and it's very useful. That's all I've been able to depend on to have to service this car. Actually, it's been very trouble-free. The only thing that failed on this car when I brought the engine back, which actually has 42,000 miles on it, was the mass airflow sensor did fail on me, and so I just got a replacement from eBay. Single serpentine belt and 1 belt for the air conditioning unit. Very easy to replace, very common item to obtain. The fluids in this car, this is 5W30 Dextron ATF version 3, Miracron 3 I believe, or you could use a synthetic. The rear axle is the original, so it's using Mobil 1 synthetic 75W90 synthetic gear oil. The rear bearings have been replaced. However, what's not good about the rear is that the end play between the pinion and the ring, I don't know how to adjust it. It is sloppy after all these years. It is original, but it can be serviced. The only problem is I just don't know how to do that kind of work, so that's why it hasn't been done. Back in the old days, they didn't have overflow bottles for these cars, or if they did, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't have it. But this one does have an overflow bottle, which I added. It's right here, and the line's right here. This is a 13-pound standard type of cap, Stanton cap.
Right.
I want to point out something on the headlights. Traditionally, these cars always had very poor headlights. This headlight is an original, meaning it is a replacement to the original size, but this is the high beam, which is in the low beam position. Driven by a relay, and I put that on here only because I got tired of not being able to see and my eyes aren't as good. So this is a high beam that's always on. This is a normal T3 high beam, of course. And moving over here to the driver's side, this is the original T3 high beam also. This is a little different. This is a aftermarket, uses the 3004 combination lamp, and so that way this beam is correct. I'm going to turn the lights on so you can see. I have 2 of these, and probably I recommend, and maybe I'll sell it to you as this over there installed so that it is more proper. I don't think it is very legal to run a high beam as the low beam as full time, but I'm going to turn this on so you can see, and we can talk about it, and I can change it out for you. So just to demonstrate, or just to point out, this is a high beam, Sylvania, halogen, not a cool blue or anything like that, but it broadcasts very good lighting. It doesn't interfere with the oncoming driver, but it isn't exactly DOT proper. The other side has a aftermarket from Monument. It is uses a modern or a newer type bulb. I'll demonstrate that in a second. The one on the driver's side uses the 9003 high beam, low beam combination. The housing is therefore plastic aftermarket housing. and it basically uses this type of light bulb. The passenger side though is a pure high beam, single lamp sealed bulb.